on to season 7, episode 1 of the Focus TV. We got Octavia White here, Raymond Lyons, Cardell Dudley Jr., Wilson Tarpe Jr. Look, we're gonna get straight to it. As always, starting off with the NFC East. We had we had one of those games where two teams play each other, and to matter in the standings possibly later on in the year. Octavia, what you got for us? You're here, so that means something, right?
It does mean something because I could have definitely not. But I want to start with the one game that I really just want to get over and done with because it really pains me to talk about the New York Giants. Like, I really, if I could possibly just not talk about them for the rest of the year, if we could just like minus them from the NFC East, but I don't think we can. Because I mean, every game I say it can't get any worse. But you know what? They prove me wrong every time. The New York Giants played against the Las Vegas Raiders, who in context just fired their head coach, their general manager, and I think somebody else. I can't even remember the last person. They're playing with an interim coach. They benched their starting quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, and a rookie quarterback played this week. And the New York Giants lost the Las Vegas Raiders 30-6. Daniel Jones was 4 of 9 for 25 yards. He was sacked 2 times and was injured in the game. We'll get to that. He was replaced by Tommy DeVito, who had to replace Tyler last week. This week, he was able to throw a couple more passes, more than 7. So he was 15 of 20, 175 yards, 4 carries for 17 yards. He was also sacked 6 times. Saquon Barkley and Tommy DeVito had 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 16 carries for 90 yards and 3 receptions for 23 yards. Darius Slayton, 4 receptions for 59 yards, and Wan'Dale Robinson had 4 receptions for 35 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, like I said, every week I think it can't get any worse, and it gets worse. It's just so bad to watch. Daniel Jones was cleared for contact earlier last week, so he was named the starter in this game. He left the game with an apparent knee injury, and it has been confirmed that he has torn his ACL and he is out for the year. I mean, the $40 million man out for the year, and we will possibly next week be seeing either the same rookie and Tommy DeVito or possibly Matt Barkley. Probably would be expecting to see Matt Barkley, and that says a lot. It's just bad. Newly acquired Darren Waller, he's been injured, didn't play in this game with another hamstring injury. And I really have no words, to be honest. Talking about the quarterbacks of who could possibly start next week, Daboll has already not committed to Tommy DeVito. With Daniel Jones out for the season, Matt Barkley is on their practice squad. So if we see Matt Barkley, he would have to be elevated. I would assume we would, just because what Tommy DeVito's been doing is definitely not enough, unless they just decide to let the rookie ride it out for the rest of the year, especially with Tyrod Taylor also on the injured reserve list. He has to be out for at least 3 more games. And at this point, the Giants are 2-7, and I don't foresee them winning more than 4 games, if that. I mean, they don't have a terrible schedule, but just the way that they're playing gives you zero hope that they'll win any more games. It brings into question, of course, coaching. We know the type of coach Brian Daboll is. He was coach of the year last year. You would not know. If you didn't watch football at all, and this was your first year, you would say there's no way in hell this guy was the coach of the year last year. After opening his tenure at 6-1, I mean, they've literally fallen just into the abyss. They have been 6-14-1 in their last 21 games, and it's as bad as it sounds. Those 6 games that they won were probably all shockers to everybody that watched the game, including the players that played it. To think that were in the playoffs last year, and I think we can all agree that they may have peaked a little bit too early. They're now having a real shot at getting the top pick in next year's draft, which is crazy, especially with the contract that they just gave Daniel Jones. And here you are looking at possibly being able to get Caleb Williams out of USC. If I was Caleb Williams and I found out that the New York Jets was the number 1 pick, I'd probably go back to school for another year. if you want to give them any type of bright spots, the offensive line was okay. I mean, but they did give up 8 sacks. They were able to get back a lot of their starters. Andrew Thomas was back at left tackle. Justin Pugh, who came back out of retirement, basically was back at left guard. Ben Breeson was at right guard. And this was probably the best starters that they had, which was probably why Saquon Barkley was pretty decent as well. I mean, he's doing everything that he could possibly do to drag this team along. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry. And I guess you would attribute some of that to the offensive line, even though I would say most of it is just the fact that it's Saquon Barkley. Cornerback Deontay Banks pretty much had a pretty bad game. He's had a pretty good rookie season so far. We've seen him in the preseason. The amazing catch he had in training camp. But this past Sunday was not one of his good outings. I mean, he allowed multiple big plays to Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Overall, he allowed 3 receptions on 5 targets for 83 yards as the nearest defender in the first half. And in the first half alone. So it just didn't get any better. Again, Saquon is the only driving force that's doing anything out there, and that's saying a lot because honestly, he's not doing a lot to get them to win, obviously, but he can't do it alone. It's not a, it's a team sport. But with him signing the 1-year contract, I'm definitely interested to see how next year is going to go. Will they let him test free agency? Because if I was him, I know he said he doesn't want to leave. I don't know why you want to stay, especially if they're going to franchise tag him again, which is definitely a possibility. So it doesn't get any better for them. They're going to get a pissed off Cowboys team next week. And that already annihilated them earlier this year. And now not even having a semi-comparable quarterback on this team for this game, I just expect annihilation. They'll play against the Cowboys this Sunday at 4:25. Next, we'll go to the Commanders. The Commanders played against the New England Patriots this week. They defeated the Patriots 20-17. Sam Howell was 29 of 45, 325 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, 5 carries for 27 yards. He was sacked 3 times. Brian Robinson Jr. had 18 carries for 63 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 reception for 4 yards. Terry McLaurin, 5 receptions for 73 yards, and Jahan Dotson, 4 receptions, 69 yards and 1 touchdown. I definitely think, the UNC connection between him and Dotson and Howell is definitely a safety blanket for him. Dotson has been coming on as of late. Sam Howell is, to me, your typical rookie quarterback. I call him a rookie because he played in only 1 or 2 games last year, who has a lot of up and down games. There are some games he's been amazing. I mean, let alone the last 2 weeks playing against the Patriots and the Eagles. He's had over 300 yards in passing. He makes mental mistakes every now and then, especially with the sacks. Sometimes he holds the ball too long. But again, we know that their offensive line is not that great either, even though I do believe that they've been protecting him a lot more than they did earlier in the year. So there's positives in that aspect. They've been able to at least get a functioning offensive line for him in these last couple of weeks. Their secondary was, it just wasn't that great. But they did enough, for them to be able to pull it out. And honestly, New England, in my opinion, kind of gave the game away. But again, you can't really bank on that. Whoever wins, they went out there, they deserved it, they won the game. Then on the other side of it, their defense, especially with trading away Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they definitely didn't get the same pressures that they've been having so far this year. So a lot of it is going to lean more on, of course, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. The Commanders are in a weird, in-between state where if they're able to run off some games, they could possibly be in the mix for a wild card. They're currently at 4-5. They need to get back to 500, of course, and then, of course, win some of these NFC games. But They have a chance. The enemy, I think he's been doing a better job. You could tell that he's getting more acclimated with the players. I think he's doing what a lot of good coaches do, highlighting his quarterback strengths and catering to those things. So he's basically working around and he's putting them in good positions. Now, just depending on if Hal makes the correct decision in those moments is definitely still a work in progress. But I definitely think Sam Howell has done enough to be able to be considered as, quarterback going into next year. I think him having a full season under his belt will help him. And then, of course, a full season with the enemy. Don't know what's going to happen as far as the coaching. We know with the new owners, they're not tied to anybody. I say this every week, and I mean it every week. Ron Rivera looks so disinterested in pretty much everything that's going on. I personally think he's checked out. I think if he loses his job, he's probably ready to retire at this point. But I mean, they were able to pull out a win, especially against a pretty good defense. The Patriots have been awful for majority of the year, but their defense has been decent as well. But kudos to the Commanders; they were able to pull it out. They're 4-5. They're third in the division, and they are going to play against. I don't know why I have the Patriots down here because they literally just played them today. So, I mean, that's today on Sunday, so that doesn't make any sense. They're going to be playing against the Seattle Seahawks next week, who also is going to be a pretty pissed off team after coming off of a 37-3 loss against the Ravens. And I mean, no touchdowns at all. Geno said, I don't even remember what he said, but y'all know what he said. I'm sure Geno is ready to get back. So that's definitely going to be a test for the Commanders as well. Last but not least, we'll talk about this game with two of the top two teams in the division. The Philadelphia Eagles played against the Dallas Cowboys. Philadelphia Eagles, as you can tell, because I'm here, defeated the Dallas Cowboys 28-23. On the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts was 17-23, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries for 36 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He was sacked 3 times. DeAndre Swift had 18 carries for 43 yards and 2 receptions for 31 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 3 carries for 22 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 reception for 1 yard. A.J. Brown broke the 6-game streak of over 125 yards. He was 7 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. And Devontae Smith had 3 receptions for 51 yards. On the other side of the line, the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott was 29 of 44, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 carries for 14 yards, and he was sacked 5 times. Tony Pollard had 12 carries for 51 yards, 3 receptions for 12 yards. CeeDee Lamb has just been torching everybody, 11 receptions, 191 yards. Jake Ferguson had 7 receptions for 91 yards and 1 touchdown, and Jalen Tolbert had 3 receptions for 49 yards and 1 touchdown. Baby, when I tell you I almost threw everything that was within reach of me during this game, I mean that wholeheartedly. Those clips you see on TV where people be busting up their TV, I was so close to it. But this to me, again, is a typical NFC East game. It's never pretty. It's never what you think is going to happen. There's so many different things that, oh yeah, I think this team is going to blow this team out, or I think this team is going to win, and it happens, and you don't know what side is up and what side is down. Dak Prescott was great. I think he had a very solid game. The referendum on him is that he doesn't play well in big games. This is the first time him and Jalen Hurts have actually played against each other. Dak has a winning percentage against the Philadelphia Eagles when he plays them. Although I would say most of it was before Jalen became relevant. And then the time they played last year, both of them were hurt when they played against each other. But I think he did enough. I think the recurring theme that you will hear about this game is that it's a game of inches. There were definitely multiple opportunities for the Dallas Cowboys to win this game and multiple opportunities for the Philadelphia Eagles to lose this game. I think that a lot of people are pointing out a lot of penalties, missed calls, or whatever you want to say. I think it was plentiful on both sides. it's just a part of the game, unfortunately. But the Dallas Cowboys, to me, they lost the game. And the point of literally the Philadelphia Eagles were like, here, take it to this point. At the end of the game, where Philly had 3 back-to-back penalties on the last drive. They were down. I don't even remember what the score was at this point, but they were on like the 11-yard line. And penalty after penalty after penalty. The PI on James Bradbury, who has been horrible this year, I'll say that, after being an All-Pro last year. His penalty on a pass interference. Hassan Reddick penalty, although I think that was a weak call, but again, it was called on a roughing the passer call. And then Dallas gets down, within distance to score. They get a sack and questionable calls as far as play calling. Didn't spike the ball to stop the clock to possibly get 2 plays instead of just the 1. That we talk about where they say a game of inches. I think it was Ferguson who was right on the goal line. Unfortunately, his knee was down and the ball didn't cross the plane. Dak Prescott was a big toe away from getting a 2-point conversion. That definitely would have changed up how things were at that point. And to me, those are the mental mistakes that Dallas made in that game. Philadelphia made multiple mental mistakes as well. But the calling card for Philly at this point is their defense. Granted, their offense is doing well, of course, but the defense has been stepping up in the later portions of the game to kind of seal it away. And that's what happened. The sack that Josh Sweat got on Dak was pivotal. I think they say he beat his man in literally 1 second to get to Dak. So I don't think that there's any blame to go on Dak in this game, particularly. If anybody was to try to look at any type of blame, we know that the Dallas defense is, amazing. Like, I hate to say it, but they are. But they missed a lot of opportunities that they usually don't within games. The Cowboys were a top 10 third down defense going into this contest, allowing under 35% conversion rate, but allowed 50% to the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly started off, going forward on 4th and 1 twice in the opening drive, once on their 32-yard line, I think once on the 50-yard line. Yes, the brotherly shove is almost undefeated. They fumbled the ball, I believe, 3 times, and 2 of them were on scoring drives, while the other was trying to run the clock out at the end of the game. The Cowboys weren't able to recover any of those fumbles. That doesn't usually happen. They usually turn over teams pretty frequently. And even if they were able to get one of those, it could have changed the outcome of this game completely. So I just think that those were things that were not indicative of the team that we've seen play all year. But again, it's an NFC East battle. I don't expect anything less in situations like this. I can imagine how it's going to be in a few weeks when the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Arlington to play them in their stadium. Although our fans travel pretty well, I don't think it's going to be as well as the Cowboys that are out there that will be looking forward to this game. All in all, it was a sloppy game on both sides, but it was still a hard-fought game on both sides. In the game, I believe the Dallas Cowboys came out unscathed as far as injuries. The Philadelphia Eagles suffered a huge injury with Dallas Goedert, who will be out. They haven't given an exact time frame with a fractured forearm. The play looked a little dirty, but that just might be my bias. But he has a fractured forearm, so this bye week couldn't come at a better time. Jalen Hurts has been, reportedly nursing a left knee injury. He was definitely injured in the end of the first half. He was able to come back out and finish the game. Thank God, because I don't know what Marcus Mariota would do behind him. Jesus Christ. But he was able to come out. So they're on a bye this week, much needed, especially coming up on a Monday night game against the Chiefs, who went over to Germany and defeated the Miami Dolphins. And we know it's a Super Bowl rematch, and it's all everybody's going to be talking about. So they definitely need this week off. Hopefully, we'll see how big of an injury it is with Dallas Goedert. They're going to need a lot of people to step up. Julio Jones, I know he's old, but we're going to have to see what he got out there. The other tight ends that they have behind Dallas Goedert are great pass catching tight ends, so we're going to have to see how that works out as well, because they're going to have to take some pressure off of AJ and Devontae at some type of way. And then on the other side of it, the Cowboys signed reinstated veteran wide receiver Martavius Bryant. This does not surprise me at all. Dallas loves taking chances on these type of players. The ones that have been seemingly thrown away for whatever reason, they love to take chances on it. Sometimes those chances work out, sometimes they don't. I personally don't understand it, just because I think they're pretty set at wide receiver. I know that there's some up and downs between who's number 2 behind CD. Is it Brandon Cooks? Are they still going to give Michael Gallup a chance? I think Jalen Tolbert had a pretty decent game. Jake Ferguson finally came on really hard. And I mean, KaVontae Turpin, I mean, I know he's a return specialist, but man, he got some speed, and I think he's done enough out there that he should at least get a chance to be in the wide receiver rotation on the offensive side. So we'll see what happens. I think they really should have been looking at a running back, because Tony Pollard has been not struggling, but I just think he hasn't given the punch that we expected, or that some people expected. I think some people didn't expect it at all. So it's definitely going to be, the next couple of weeks, figuring out how all of these teams shake out. The Dallas Cowboys will annihilate the Giants next week, so we can go ahead and chop that up as a win. And the Eagles off. Commanders will play against the Seahawks, and Giants, of course, playing against Dallas. So we'll see. It's the NFC East. I'm just happy we're not the worst division anymore. That belongs to the NFC South. I don't know what's going on down there, except the Houston Texans. They're not in the NFC South. I'm sorry. The Houston Texans are playing amazing. Shout out to CJ Stroud. The other NFC South team I was really referring to, the Panthers. I don't know which one you should have picked, but I think I know which one you should have picked. No shade to Bryce, but I mean, CJ's killing it.
Hey, man. Decisions have consequences. Also, all organizations aren't equal. Shout out to the Texans for somehow fixing.
I mean, don't you always say bad things?
All the time, every time. That's a great segue. Ray, the Wizards.
Is it?
Amazing segue. Speaking of bad teams, yeah, it's gonna be a long season, man. We'll be 6 games in, and it's already been a long season. They've already given up a season's worth of points. Like, these dudes are just allergic to defense and effort. Cardell summed it up perfectly the other day on Wizards Outlook. Just no pride, like no pride whatsoever. There's no way you can tell me a team is going to routinely give up 70 plus in the first half, and you tell me they're giving effort. Like, unless it's a high school team playing an NBA team, then okay. But y'all are professionals, man. Like, this is bad. It's really bad. They played Philly the other night. It looked like Embiid was trying to chill at first. Tobias Harris and I lose my train of thought. These dudes are so terrible. But other guys got it going initially. Then in the third quarter, Embiid just said, well, since they're not going to put up resistance, might as well go ahead and have a career game. Had 29 points in the third quarter. He sleepwalked to 48 and 11. Wizards lost by 20. I mean, it's just more the same, man. It looks like it's going to get way worse before it gets any better. I don't see any answers. It's a chore to watch this team, but I can only report on what they give me to report, and right now none of it is good. It's a shit show. It's no other way to sum this up. Like, I don't think I've seen a team this bad since Sheesh, who was it? Charlotte that went like 9-73 one year. So yeah, man, it's I don't got too much analysis for this because they're just not doing anything. I'm sorry, man. It's plain and simple. I can't put it any other way. 76 more games of this. It's Wilson and Cardell. We might have to start drinking during playback because
don't remind me.
It's rough, man. It's rough, and it's embarrassing. I hope they're embarrassed. I hope everyone involved is embarrassed. I hope the front office is embarrassed enough to start making some decisions, man. Because I don't know where else you go from this point. You try guys out here every game, and they just give zero effort. So yeah, I'm glad I'm not in that war room that has to even begin to try to make sense of this because yeah, it's terrible and it looks like it's going to continue to be terrible. So yeah, I'm at a loss. If somebody can help me, please jump in. But yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, they talked a lot about having an opportunity before the season started. It's just all words, man. Poole, I don't know what type of time Jordan Poole on. He just looks completely disengaged. Kuzma, he just looked like he's trying to get numbers. Yeah, none of that's gonna matter if you're 1-81. So like something's got to give. But yeah, it's not looking too good down here in Wizards country. Hopefully by some miracle, somebody gets some pride and starts to try to do something basketball related. But as it stands now, they're the worst team in the league. Hopefully with some top teams getting here, we get to see some legendary performances because they're not going to put up any resistance to it. When Biyama comes in here, it might be his first 50-point game. So that's really all we have to look forward to in regards to this team, man. Yeah, we're gonna keep having to watch them all season. I'm gonna send Ted a bill for therapy because it's driving me up a wall. So I can only imagine what Wes is going through and the rest of that coaching staff. If I was the coach, it would be hell to pay. I wouldn't last a day. Because I'm like, you want to have to fire me or let me do what I need to do because those youngins will be getting the bulk of the minutes. We've seen 2 times where, they came in and they actually showed some heart and fought. The Atlanta game, they almost walked that lead all the way back down. And Trae Young and DeJounte Murray had to come back in and basically finish the game. Obviously the starters don't care because if that were me in that position and rookies and first and second year guys come in and show that level of effort, the next game I'm definitely going to, try to establish something, but just more of the same. And yeah, that Philly game was just terrible. So, we'll continue to report out on whatever they give us to report. But at this point, yeah, dog, something got to change.
Be given arenas in the locker room if I was the coach, dog. The guns will be in there. Like, y'all can make a decision.
Man.
Make a decision.
They got the Hornets on Wednesday on the road, and then they got the Hornets at Capital One on Friday before heading back out on the road to take on the Nets. Like, it's like you said, right? It's not a whole lot of words. The words that you want to use, all of them aren't exactly appropriate, but fitting. Yeah.
Real, before you go, like, I always heard about that 9-win Sixers team from way back in the day with Doug Collins. And then I think that's when Dr. J came or whatnot. And then obviously they went on their run. And I always, as a kid, was like, man, that's crazy that they had to sit through that. Like, I can't imagine. And now it's like, yo, we might we might be seeing some like that this year. Like, it's that bad, man. It's really that bad, though. I'm like, I'm hoping I'm wrong, man. I really am, man. But it looked like it's headed that way. It's really that bad.
Like I said, it's
And
early.
they look like they're trying to make the wrong kind of history.
It's losing, and it's losing like they losing. Like that's a different type of losing.
Nah, it is. It's bro. What do you doing outlook last
140s.
night? You said something about they giving up 130 in like 3 straight games.
One out of their first, how many games? It was 6.
Yeah,
I think 4 of their first 6, they've given up 130 plus points.
like let that settle in.
And I've always played for like, and Octavia, she know Coach Westwood. That's where I got it from. He'd be like 25 a quarter, and that's it. If they got above 25 a quarter, hell to pay at next practice. So we defended like our life depended on it, because he wasn't playing. These dudes, it probably be dead bodies in practice, man, because they tripping. Like, they tripping.
What was that team we talked about? I think last year where like they got beat real bad. And they coach like ran them so bad that everybody ended up in the hospital. It need to be that.
Oh, the Division 3 school, they got the 80, yeah.
It was like everybody running and everybody was passing out, going to the hospital. That's what need to happen up there.
Man, like I said, we want to bring in something possibly legendary for all the wrong reasons, bro. 4 and 6 games, 130. That's and teams are consistently hitting triple digits.
Oh yeah, every game. I just looked at it.
Would you say,
If they're around a 6-16, I don't want to see Kuz at no fashion show. I don't want to see clips of Jordan Poole. Y'all need to disappear. Only one that's exempt is Koulibaly because he a rookie. He ain't asked for this. He can't control who he was drafted. That's all that is.
Oh man, we're gonna take our first break, and when we get back, try to talk about something a little bit more positive. Some college teams in the areas who got their season off on the right foot. And again, this is me being as mature as I possibly can be. We're gonna take our first break on the Focus TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, Cardell, you were in the gym last night. I was in the gym last night. You know, everyone thinks the technology got together for Wizards Outlook, which made that even more bleak after, you know, watching some competitive basketball, some teams that wanted to try to stop folks. And then having to talk about that and trying to put the two together just wasn't processing for me. How was your night last night on the college ranks?
My night was great. That was a beautiful game. GW, hell of a start to the season. They defeated Stonehill in convincing fashion, 89-44. Contrary to what we just talked about, the story in this game was the Colonials defense and their new depth. Although they're young, they're a lot deeper than they were last year, where James Bishop, Brandon Adams, and Ricky Lindo and Dean, they had to work miracles out there, because if they didn't score, it was tough. And defend, it was tough. GW held Stonehill. Listen to what I'm about to say. They held Stonehill to 7 of 40 from the field and 3 of 20 from three-point range. I repeat, 7 of 40 from the field and 3 of 20 from deep in the first half. The Colonials ended the game having locked up Stonehill to 15 of 70 from the field and 5 of 33 from three-point range. Offensively, George Washington had their way. After leading 37-20 at the half, the Colonials led by Max Edwards and redshirt freshman Garrett Johnson, who you'll be hearing me mention a lot throughout the season. He's a transfer from Princeton, I believe. He's a redshirt freshman because the 21-22 season he was originally at Princeton, but they found a cancerous tumor in his hip, so he went on. He's gone through it. He's had about 7 operations to try to get that under control. So essentially, this is his first college season, and he had a hell of a debut, man. I know he look at life totally different from what he's been going through. He's been through hell. So I'm happy to see him back on the floor. Local product as well. So I'm happy to see him back on the floor doing what he does. Talented kid. Those two, led by those two in the second half, they blew the game open. outscoring Stonehill 52-24 in the second half. Garrett Johnson, he finished with the game high 21 points and 8 to 10 shooting and a game high 9 rebounds, tied for a game high 9 rebounds. And Max Edwards added 19 points and several rebounds with 7-11 shooting, 5 of 8 from deep, including 3 straight threes in the second half that pretty much ended the game. Any hopes of Stonehill trying to make a run and make it a game. James Bishop, the reigning A-10 scoring champion, finished with 5 points in the game high, 5 assists. That's what I mean about the depth. That's the difference this year. GW has a lot more firepower offensively, so Bishop won't have to work miracles, not nearly as often. I know he's going to probably have his games and his moments, but he won't need to work miracles just to keep GW competitive. He has a lot of help on that end, man. They're just young, so as they can get experience and continue to learn, by the end of the season, or at least conference play, GW, they can be a force. Stonehill was led by Louis Simona, who posted 9 points and 4 rebounds, and preseason all-conference for Max Zagorowski added 8 points and 9 rebounds. GW will next take on William and Murray Saturday at 1 p.m.
All right, sliding over to Maryland women's. Just give me a second. Let's switch clips real quick. Like GW men's, they chose to start the season 1-0. Fueled by their defense to start things, they would win their 15th consecutive season opener, beating Harvard 98-75. Cheyenne Sellers led the way, doing a little bit of everything with 25 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and no turnovers. Every coach anywhere is going to be proud of their point guard playing that many minutes, not turning the ball over at all. Brene Alexander added 15 points. Jakia Brown-Turner in her Maryland debut, regular season debut, had 11 points. Emma Chardon had 10 points off the bench. Maryland got 34 points from their bench on the evening. Harvard was led by dynamic guard Harmony Turner, who finished the game with 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Lola Mullaney added 17, while Abigail Wright finished with 12 points and 7 rebounds. Maryland got off to a quick start, fueled by their defense in the first period. They got out to a 13-6 lead. They finished the quarter on an 18-5 run while surrendering just 11 points. What wasn't great for Maryland was, unlike GW men's, whose defense seemingly held up for the entire game, and I'm sure this is something, I feel bad for those young ladies because I know Brenda wasn't too happy about what it looked like defensively for the next 3 quarters. It was a back and forth affair between Maryland and Harvard. Maryland just never matched their initial intensity that they started the game with. Faith Masonis truly looks to be back to herself. No brace or sleeve on her previously injured leg to start the year. She really showed off that she's more the secondary playmaker for this group. Last year they had Shy at the controls with Diamond Miller and Abby Myers. This year with Shy as the primary ball handler, you got Faith at times to take the pressure off her, letting Shy get off ball a little bit. And then, one of the things we've seen for Faith over in time in Maryland, somebody they go to when it's time to break the press or whatever is a very nice weapon for them. Emily Fisher was solid. You look at the box score, you're going to just see 2 points or whatnot. But she came off the bench, showed that she's able to fit in well on the perimeter. Another one of those bigger guards that Maryland has to offer. Contributed on both ends. Lavender Briggs kind of picked their spots. I mentioned Brene Alexander. With Abby Myers gone, Brene's kind of the leader, is the markswoman on Maryland this year, and she did her job. She knocked down 5 of her 8 triples last night. Ali Kubik, who was injured last year, she was the first player off the bench for Maryland. She's probably one of the only players that has a true post presence in terms of just trying to seal her defender and scoring the post on a regular basis. One thing Maryland has to improve on, especially with who they play on next, they need to tighten up on the boards. They did not rebound well in this game. We know they're not a very large team in terms of what they have in the post. They're going to be facing one of those teams this week that has a lot of that in terms of size and athleticism. So I think they gave up 25 offensive rebounds last night. That is something that cannot continue. And it was something that all the players touched on. I know it's going to be addressed, and it was literally just not boxing out, just literally just not doing it.
Turning and watching.
Yeah, that was it. Again, things that, and
I
it
noticed.
wasn't one of those things where they're not capable of doing it because you did it. You see it up there right now. 17-8, all the guards digging down, getting boards and whatnot, but just not doing it. And against two teams you about to play this week, I wish you would. The score is gonna get out of hand if you don't box out, and they have to again because of their size. They have to clean that up. Something Coach Freeze and players mentioned. The other thing they were talking about, they were happy about, was just that the way they willingly moved the ball. Obviously, the ball pressure was good in the first quarter. Had little spurts later in the game when it was better, but it was the first game of the regular season. It's not the end of the world. However, there's a bit of a stark difference between Harvard and their next two opponents. Their next opponent, South Carolina. They're following that up with UConn. Both of those games are on the road. Again, going back to this rebounding thing, yeah, they're going to have to get that taken care of immediately. Brenda's continuing. One of the things they've been doing recently, the last couple of years, is really strengthening that non-conference schedule. So it's going South Carolina, Connecticut on the road, come home for Syracuse. So early season tests, obviously one thing you can't afford, man, is turning the ball over and not rebounding. Those are things that just you can't do that in your next two games. You just can't at all. So we'll keep you posted on how that goes. You got South Carolina this upcoming Sunday. Then we'll talk to you guys. Yeah, in South Carolina, because they play South Carolina, UConn. They got those nice deals where South Carolina, UConn came here last year. So Maryland has to make the trip this year. Then it's reversed the following year. So just like last year, I think they had them back-to-back last year, or maybe there was a team in between it. Right, when I'm talking about, look, you start the year 1-0 on a high, but at least it's back-to-back early in the year. Like, you got a nice break between those two in Big Ten play. However, hey, man, you can find out a little bit about yourself very quick. In South Carolina, a couple days later, you come home, take a deep breath, then you up the stores. See how things go.
I saw against Notre Dame. 26. You say 26 offensive rebounds?
If you literally give me 1 second, bro, I will find a number because it was just disturbing because it shouldn't have happened.
See, that's that, and not playing defense in college. That's where you get them life-threatening practices. That's when see.
Yeah, that's one way for it to happen for sure.
You walk around campus with anxiety, you stress because you know it's gonna be bad.
Like it's man.
Yeah, they had 25 offensive rebounds.
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
Thank you, Octavia. 25, and
what makes it worse is it spread out. It wasn't like it was just one person. Like,
because both teams were similarly sized.
Yeah.
So there was no reason.
Lock the doors. Lock the doors, assistant coaches. They're gonna be limping up out of that, John.
Hey, look, you did that, and then you got this week before South Carolina. What you think they're working on this week?
That's all they did in Notre Dame. They don't beat yourself, man. Don't beat yourself.
The last thing you want to do is obviously you want to go play the tough teams early on. It's great for you. It's great for you no matter what the result is. It's great for you by the time you get to the end of the year, and especially before conference play. However, Cardell, what did you just say? Don't help them. Like, if you don't come out with the dub, cool, but don't help them.
Hey, we hear a couple girls in the transfer portal. That means they had that real practice. That's what that's about. We done with this shit.
We're gonna find out quick, man. We're gonna find out so quick because yeah. And they had to deal with South Carolina last year, and last year it was Aaliyah's last year. So that was Aaliyah and Cardoso down there. And you know, Maryland was similarly sized. Right, they would have threw it. You said what?
But they had Diamond, that kind of helped.
Yeah. But even in that one, I think they lost Diamond early in that game. So
yeah, that should be it.
Like they that was tough. But again, they got two tough tests on the road. It is what it is. At least you get it out the way early. You know who you are, and then you get into Syracuse and some other games they have on there. Hold on. pull that up real quick because I know who the next two are. South Carolina, UConn. Then you come back for Syracuse. Then you're out to play in the Cancun Challenge. That's Washington State, Green Bay, and UMass before coming back home. But tough week ahead. Sunday and Thursday, man. Very tough week. We're going to take our second break. When we get back, we'll get into rapid fire, which we got some interesting topics for sure. And we'll be right back. You're watching the Focus TV. All right, welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, we're going to head into rapid fire. What you got for us this week, Cardell?
Yeah, we're going to start on the interesting story that kind of broke a few days ago from the Washington Post. Ben Strauss, he wrote a story detailing how as the WNBA grows, so does the tension between the players and the media. We all know what happened, after the WNBA finals wrapped up a few weeks ago. With the Aces defeating the Liberty, a number of reporters and TV outlets requested to speak with some of the Liberty players, including Sabrina Ionescu and Jonquil Jones, but the players did not talk to them. The entire Aces team, meanwhile, visited the media room for a news conference, but amid the celebration, didn't answer some questions to offer insight into how they won the game. Quote, in decades of covering sports, I have never seen this happen. Barbara Barker, a columnist at Newsday, posting on social media. What looked from the outside like a mishandled moment for the league, acclimating to a higher profile, there was a window into a larger dynamic according to interviews with nearly 20 reporters and officials around the WNBA. The league, reporters said, often falls short of making itself more accessible to the media, even as its leaders rebuked the media for a lack of coverage, often citing a statistic that women's sports receive less than 5% of total sports coverage. Just 2 years ago, the Phoenix Mercury declined to speak to reporters after losing in the finals. The league fined the Mercury $10,000 then. This year, the Liberty was fined $25,000 and 3 players $2,000 for not following the league's media policies. The league declined to make Commissioner Kathy Engelbert available, but said it received few complaints this season about access to players. WNBA spokesman Ron Howard said in a statement that the league will implement mandated media training for players and will issue more significant fines for players who do not follow protocols. Terry Jackson, executive director of the WNBA Players Association, pushed back against any assertion that players did not prioritize speaking to reporters, of course. Quote, our players are the most accessible professional athletes out there, she said. They stop and talk to anyone and everyone, almost to their detriment. They don't turn down interviews. We're looking for established, credible outlets and writers to be in and around the space to help grow this game. In the interview, Union President Eneko Wumike, who plays for the Los Angeles Sparks, said she welcomed more media coverage, but that players still were growing accustomed to increased visibility. Quote, there have been times as women athletes where there's this idea that accessibility is taken for granted, she said, but you have a responsibility. It's a part of our job. And I think at times you have to square what that means as a professional and a woman. Questions over access have been increasingly common across men's and women's sports in recent years as news outlets, contract, and social media allows athletes more ways to reach fans directly. But reporters around the league said the WNBA was unique because it is asking for more coverage, but then shutting down reporters trying to fill that gap. The league closed the locker rooms to reporters last season, which meant reporters must rely on PR staff to facilitate interactions, including one-on-one conversations. Several reporters also said they have been told by teams that they are bad for women's basketball if they write something a team doesn't like. Over the years, reporters said they have repeatedly raised the issue of improving media relations to the league office. Sabrina Whitaker, who has covered the Chicago Sky and also worked with WNBA players on their personal media strategy, suggested there was a lack of understanding between both players and reporters on primary function of media. Quote, players are unclear on the jobs of media, she said, because of the general distrust of media and the biases we've seen. Players tend to gravitate toward media members who have spoken about them more positively, and that's not fair. That includes how to respond to critical coverage. After the Chicago Sun-Times published a story this year that questioned whether a struggling Chicago Sky team would make the playoffs, a player confronted a reporter during a post-game news conference and asked, are you with us or against us? Players have their own grievances beyond the historic lack of coverage. Reporters show up for moments when the league transcends sports, Jackson said, such as when Brittany Bryant returned home from detention in Russia, but not for their games. And media that are credentialed and cover teams regularly are part-time journalists or writing for fan websites one of the main reasons players push to close their locker rooms ahead of the season. Further, a 2020 study at the University of Massachusetts found that white WNBA players receive disproportionately more coverage than black players. Ogwumike says she has done interviews in which reporters repeatedly mispronounce her name, and that players have been frustrated by the monotony of coverage with the same handful of players getting so much of it. She said she engaged more with reporters outside the closed locker room too. Press conferences did feel as obligatory as someone hoovering over my locker, she said. I felt like I could be in a better place and have a better conversation. It's a longer article. I just wanted to get the main points out so everybody fully understand what's going on. They even talked about how agents sometimes block reporters from getting access to players, and the players simply didn't even know that a reporter reached out for an interview. So it's an ugly dynamic going on right now. Octavia, obviously you're only female on the show. Play basketball. I just want to get your, and you're on the media side, so I want to get your perspective on a growing dissension between both media and the WNBA players.
So for me, I always think I might have the unpopular woman perspective when it comes to stuff like this. That's just my own personal feelings. But I think that's a bunch of BS. Like, I don't feel like you can cry for, and I don't even want to say cry because I don't think that's nice, but I don't think you can yearn for more media coverage and then complain about how that media coverage is. I feel like as women, we want so much, especially in sports, to be treated equally and to have the same, things that the men do in their respective sports. But then I feel like at times they play the women card, and it's like, well, dang, like what do we do now? So I feel like you can't be woe is me now because they said something mean about me. I don't want to talk to them anymore. Like, the fact that they're saying that they're now implementing mandated media training to me is crazy because they should have all already had media training. Like, that's ridiculous. All of them should know how to have I don't even know the word I'm trying to say because I'm getting kind of angry. They should all have the training to be able to have a coherent conversation with somebody in the media. If you are looking to be a professional athlete, it comes with the territory. It doesn't matter if you're a man and it doesn't matter if you're a woman. You're not, in my eyesight, like you're not looked at in that capacity in the moment. You're looked at as an athlete. You're not looked at as a male athlete. You're not looked at as a female athlete. You're looked at as an athlete. And I feel like on both sides of it, with media and with players, they both have a job to do. Regardless of how you feel that somebody has said something about you, the part of the article where they said that the Chicago, Times had said, is the Chicago Sky going to make the playoffs? That is a legitimate question. Are you going to make the playoffs? How are you talking? So are you for us or are you against us? I'm neither. I'm supposed to be a non-biased party in this situation. So that's a stupid ass question. Like, why are you asking me that? I'm here to report what's happening. I don't care if you win or if you lose. I just need to say which one you're doing. So I think this is so effing crazy. Like, the fact that, like I said, they want more media coverage. And to say that, don't get me wrong, there are the same players that do get a lot of media coverage. But is it because these players are more accessible? These players are more willing to deal with the negative and be okay with the positive? I think I heard something recently where they were talking about what Michael Parsons was talking about, like, y'all praise us when we're great and y'all don't talk about somebody else. It's like, it comes with the territory. If you're a good player, they're going to talk about you when you're good, and they're going to talk about you when you're bad. That's how it goes. What's crazy to me is I knew as soon as the Las Vegas Aces won, they was going to cut up because they cut up last year. And in the moment, it's funny. So don't get me wrong. A'ja Wilson drunk is hilarious. But in the concept of you guys trying to get more professional media coverage, that's not how you act in a media situation. When somebody's trying to literally talk about the sport that you guys are yearning for them to talk about, this is the time you're supposed to be doing it. And even in that situation, there was a whole lot of, oh, the media said we wasn't going to win because Kia Stokes was out and Chelsea got hurt. They said we didn't have enough on our bench. That was factual. If there were legitimate questions about that. So instead of doing, I mean, Sydney Colson's hilarious as well. And for her especially, who's also trying to get into media, who's doing a lot of hosting, and she's been in commercials. I think her and another girl from the league or used to be in the league have like their own little television show on some network. That's the type of stuff it doesn't make any sense to me. I understand their grievances when it comes down to you guys only show for the big things, the Brittany Griner situation, but y'all were yearning for them to cover the Brittany Griner situation. So they covered the Brittany Griner situation. So I don't understand why now you're complaining that they did that. And yeah, okay, they didn't come to the games, but just like you said, y'all don't want them in the locker room. You only want people that are there are a gajillion podcasts, there are a gajillion fan sites. Media is media coverage. Like they say it all the time. Like all media is good media, or whatever they're saying is like all publicity is good publicity. You're getting out there. The more that you do it, the more people are going to want to do it reputability if you feel like they're not doing it that in that aspect. But you can't pick and choose who covers you, when they cover you, when they say about you. Like it don't go like that. So I just think this is crazy. Like when I heard about it, I was like, this is wild. Like y'all are crazy, right? Like there's no way you can sit here, and I hate pulling the woman card, like woe is me. I'm a very sensitive person as well. So I get it. And I don't even think that's just a female situation. There are a lot of sensitive people in the world. We see it on the men's side too. They get in their feelings about certain stuff as well, but they don't close access to it. When the people who run from it, we talk about them too, and they got to deal with that too. So if you want to be at the same table as them, you got to be able to do the same things as them. You got to put your big girl pants on and keep it pushing. So it's like, I don't get it, especially with, again, some of them in the media. Like I know Shanae, she's literally in the media all the time. Candace Parker is a part of the media now. Like the fact that they don't have media training is wild. And what's crazy is it shows too. Now, the one thing that I don't like the sideline interviews. I've never liked it. Like during the game, like you're talking to the coach while they're trying to coach. I personally hate that because I'm like, they're not listening to you. Like they try to figure out what's going on in this game. I hate this whole walking with them to the locker room thing that Holly Rowe does now on ESPN. I hate those. But the normal, after the game is over, we're in the locker room, we're trying to get good quotes, we're trying to figure out how you felt about it as soon as it ended, because those are type of stuff that is good to see exactly how you feel when the game is over, as opposed to, oh, I feel like if they're hovering over me, I don't have enough time to put my thoughts together, which also shows that you don't have media training. You should be able to formulate a thought at that point. So I'm gonna stop rambling now because I find myself getting like this is ridiculous. I think it's dumb. If I was in the WNBA, I would be like, please come talk to me, ask me questions. You got something to say? Oh, you played bad today? You know what? I probably did. I probably needed to play better, play more defense. I need to go back to the drawing board, figure out what wasn't working, and get it rectified so we can win games. It's a part of the sport. So if you don't want it, I don't think you deserve to be in the sport. I mean, granted, I know they don't get paid as much as the men do, but you make more than a lot of people. So yeah, it's just asinine. So I'm sorry, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's a whole lot to say about this. We could probably do an entire show just on this topic, because it's definitely layered. And this was actually a really good article. It was well put together. We talked a little bit about it, off wax, but so there's the overarching theme of women only get 5% of media coverage and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's messed up. But I mean, the league can't exacerbate the issue by, some of their own practices that really don't make that much sense. You know, you're at a space where you're already at a disadvantage. So that means you probably got to extend yourself a little further to combat that. You know, so yeah, man, that's just basically what it boils down to. Do you want to solve the problem or don't you? Like, yeah, you only get 5% of the coverage. We know that. It's probably not going to change. They've showed, you know, all the major outlets that they want to be more invested, ESPN and all them. They showed how they feel about the WNBA and women's sports in general. It is what it is, man. Like, it sucks. It's not fair, but you're not going to change their minds and hearts. Like, so you got to tap into the people that actually want to, you know, cover your league and expand your league. You know, I think all of us can speak personally to roadblocks we've had, you know, covering the WNBA. So, yeah, man, the media is not blameless, but neither is the league. Like, and the league is the one that wants the coverage. So you can't just say, oh, the media is treating us bad or what have you, when at the same time you're doing things to limit yourself. So it's actually disappointing because the WNBA is great. Like, it's great to watch. It's a great product. You know, there's tons of personalities there. It's tons of stories that need to be told. But yeah, when you see things that are happening that are limiting that by the league themselves, you know, WNBA got a black belt in self-sabotage. Like, and it's been that way for a while. And it sucks to see. But yeah, man, I didn't see an issue with the article. You know, it took me a few days to get to it, but I was seeing like things on social media and the comments that were made, like the people that were making them couldn't have read the article because like you weren't even speaking to stuff that was brought up. So, you know, when I finally got around to reading it, I was just confused as to you know what direction that conversation was going. But yeah, man, this is something the league has to fix if they want to get the results that they want. Yeah, like I always remember the you know the interaction Bill Lambert had with David Aldridge 2019 when the Aces was playing the Mystics. You know, it's the conference finals, and Lambert's like, and David Aldridge you know raises his hand and asks a question, and Bill Lambert like, oh wow, didn't know that you knew we had a game today or something like that. And I mean, it was funny because yeah, like, dude, you're in DC. The Mystics were the best team in the league that year, and this is the first time you've shown up. Like okay, that on that point, yeah, that's a flaw of the media and how they cover the league. Cool, no issue with that. Glad Bill pointed it out. You know, it was a funny moment. Dave laughed about it, went on to ask his question. You know, and stuff like that sparks a conversation that needs to be had. But on the other side, you know, there's another conversation that needs to be had, and the league's got to be honest about their part in this, man. So, yeah, like the restricting the locker room access, I don't understand why anybody thought that was a good idea. But you know, here we are. But yeah, man, it really sucks to see, man, because you know I want to see this league, you know, get to the point where you know they're getting the recognition they deserve. You know, I still think a lot of people are ignorant towards the type of product that the WNBA is. Like, I mean, given the comparison between the the WNBA home team and the NBA home team, I'd much rather cover the Mystics for 82 games, and I'm just being honest. But I wish they would let me cover them the way that I would like to. So yeah, man, it's not going to get any better until the league holds up a mirror, man, and is honest about some of the decisions they're making, and you know, and the players as well. You know, so and I get it. They deal with a lot. You know, it's a lot going on there. You know, they got a lot of issues to fix, but yeah, this is something they can directly impact in a positive way, and the fact that they're taking steps to go in the opposite direction, It's really frustrating.
Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, we've been covering the league for a long time. And obviously all of us been fans of the league before we started covering it. Like that whole thing, I think there was that discussion, right? You brought it up. I think before the start of last season, people like when they closed the locker rooms or whatever it was, and people were discussing online, oh, it's not a big deal. You can get your stories out. I was like, no. And this is what maybe hopefully the players realize. I don't know if they will, is if there's already, to a degree biased coverage, but some of that biased coverage comes from the people that folks cater to already. So if it's coming from those people, but then you're not giving other people a fair chance to kind of even that out, or to make to make that stand out as bad as a person who voted fourth for Asia, like to make it stand out that bad, you're limiting yourself. Yeah, you want more people to cover it, but that also means you need to probably prioritize the people that do cover it. Yeah, you got the bigger folks, the bigger networks, and yeah, obviously any league would want that, and that's great. However, when those folks aren't there, there's some folks that are consistently there around the league. Every team has a consistent group of people that cover them that aren't the league's partner, right? And those people shouldn't be belittled or ignored and thrown into that nice box of, oh, it's fan sites. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it however you want to rationalize it. Those voices that you kind of just throw to the side are usually more consistent than the folks who only show up for nationally televised matchups. It's a 12-team league. The league partner doesn't always do a great job. We have this wonderful thing every WNBA fan does, let alone most media members, where it's find what channel the game is on a regular basis, because you're not quite there yet. So if that's what's happening for your consumers and the people that are covering it, it would behoove you to take care of the folks that are showing up to do it on a regular basis so you can get to that place. And like Ray said, there's so much of just shooting yourselves in the foot and taking 5 steps back when you just don't have to. Closing the locker rooms, I think, was a horrible mistake, because now you took something where you're already not getting all the coverage you deserve, and you took an opportunity for people to get different stories away. That doesn't make any sense. So now you put everybody all in one room, and everybody's walking out with the same thing. Did you think about that out loud? So it's limited folks, and then y'all put it together where now there's less stories that could come up. That doesn't make any sense at all. And again, I do get it. There's annoying folks on our side, on their side, what have you, but it's media. This is what comes with as the league grows. But it's also on you, the league, to vet who's serious about covering you and who's not. That's not on us. If for the folks that are serious, treat them accordingly with the same respect you treat your league partner with. It will go a long way. To the folks that aren't serious, don't allow them in. It's just that simple. We've all been part of stuff where sometimes, folks come in butchering names or literally bringing up someone else's, like the wrong player's name to their face. That's the issue. However, why does that person still have access? Like, control the things you can control, and not on those people, but that would be a nice lesson for those people. You wouldn't be allowed somewhere else doing that on the men's side. They get you out of there so quick. You show up calling somebody the wrong name multiple times, you're not there. So again, if you want the equity and everything else, there are things you can't control. There's things you have to control better, and that's one of them. If folks consistently cover your league, they need to be given access so they can tell the stories. And if you're cutting that axe, like you're literally, what is it? The cutting your nose to spite your face, that whole thing. Like, you're literally cutting off access that you sorely need. You can't do both. And then you can't say you need this when you're like, but not this. I want this, but not that. But I want this, but only in this way. Nah, it doesn't make any sense. And with, and Cardell, you brought up in that article, like, talk about the agents or what have you too. Like, if it's truly in your client's best interest to really get out there, we just got to be real and live with you repping who you repping, right? In the sport that you repping them. we shouldn't have less access to them after they leave college. That makes no sense. Some of us do cover them the whole way up. How does the access get less and less and less as they get to the professional ranks? That doesn't make any sense. But go ahead, Cardell.
Yeah, I'm gonna just end it with this. One thing that's a pet peeve for me is anybody big time in anybody. I just personally, I treat everybody the same, right? So my thing is this with the WNBA players, according to the article, a lot of them come off as they big time certain media. But it's like you're beneath us. We don't feel the need to have to talk to you. Cool. So how then in return can you catch feelings when these networks feel like you're beneath us? I'm a firm believer in what you put out in the world comes back to you, man. So we got to be honest about this thing. Yes, it's a world of a reality we would all like to have. I would love for the world to get rid of racism. But guess what? That's not reality. I know if I go in certain pockets of this country, I'm more than likely going to have to fight for my life. You see what I'm saying? So they got to understand a lot of the major media networks are owned by wealthy middle-aged white men, right? Okay. The middle-aged white men probably don't take too kindly to a female being able to do things physically that they could never do. It took the NBA a minute to draw them in because they couldn't accept that brothers could do stuff physically that they couldn't do. That's why there was a lot of heat towards Larry Bird when he came in, when they were like, what about Magic? He won in more championships and stuff. What about Jabbar and Jordan and all that? But they had to finally just admit Larry Bird a bad boy. So he warranted all the praise he got, okay? What I'm saying with the women is, like y'all say, you can't have it both ways, man. And I'm glad a female in Octavia just was fair and said everything what it is, because it like, let's keep it real in the society. What is the main thing a lot of men complain about with women? What's the number one thing when they complain about women? They never satisfied. It's all they gonna find something wrong, and that's what you see right here. Can y'all cover us more than the next day? I just don't like the coverage. I just don't like the media in the locker room. What do you want, though? Like, what do you want? And I'm only speaking about experiences of the benefit of having consistent media. Wilson knows this. I was at GW when John Quill finally got healthy and was at GW, and she started killing. It was just me and like a student intern covering the women's team. It would just be us every game. I was covering the men's. I'm like, let me see what's on the women's side. And John Quill was getting damn near quadruple doubles all the time. Like, where everybody at? Where the Washington Post? Y'all not seeing us? And I was coming back to Wilson. This was when Stewie was at UConn. It was UConn's world. And I'm like, this girl gonna be MVP of the league one day. I was saying that then. I'm like, she's a problem. And with that, certain videos I would post started going viral and all this stuff. All of a sudden, you start seeing WNBA scouts popping up. Then they started getting bigger games. Like Stanford came to GW one year. They never come. They don't get those type of teams. Maryland does, but not GW. Next thing I know, they playing powerhouse teams, rumbling, and damn near beating them because John Quill was that dominant. Come to find out, I'm looking because of the basketball experience. I'm like, hold on. I remember she had problems at Clemson. That's why she transferred. She couldn't stay healthy, migraines, back issues, all that. So I'm like, what's the source behind her getting healthy and being able to stay healthy? Not just her, Lauren Chase, her high school teammate at River Baptist, she had a lot of migraines at her old place. I think she was at Coppin at first. So when John Quill transferred to GW, they were best friends. She came to GW with her. And they both healthy, killing. Had GW top 25 every year they were there. I'm like, what's the source? I look and I see this assistant named Brandy Walker, who's the strength and conditioning coach. And she got him right. So I asked the PR, I'm like, man, can I do a story on him? Fine, gave me all access, came to the locker room, watched the workout, filmed it and all that. What came of that? It blew their program up more. Brandy actually got a job with Miami in the ACC after that. Come to find out, me and Brandy got connections because her best friend's married to Darius Sess, who graduated with me in high school. They went to Grant Park. He's best friends with Lewis Hennick, who's one of my boys I came up playing ball against Bird. So we were, oh, damn, we didn't even know that. Then through her, I met a dude named Vince Williams, who's the strength and conditioning coach at the Go-Go at the time. Now he's the head strength and conditioning coach at Pitt. So it's just a full circle of how this all come together. But that profile elevated everybody to where John Quayle, they thought they pretty much was done with her. You had a nice high school career. They forgot about her to like, oh, we got to look back over there. And then she became a top pick, and we all know what she became in the league. Brandy elevated. And a lot of those other ladies got jobs overseas, like Kyra Washington. She got a trial with the Mystics and stuff like that. That came from coverage, them being accessible, allowing it. Then you started seeing the Washington Post. Then ESPN will pop in because they playing Stanford and all the Notre Dame and all these teams and stuff like that. That's what happens. Why is it so hard for them to understand that that's what can happen with the WNBA? We were there when the Mystics was rolling. Everybody and their mother started coming. Even Hollywood stars and stuff would just pop up like, what are y'all doing here? And this goes to another problem. We've been there consistently since 2014. Why are you bumping us, the loyal coverage people, the journalists that cover them? Why are you bumping us for the national media to get better seats and all that? That causes people to say, F y'all. We the one doing the work and helping their visibility and stuff and covering all this. And these people just pop up when it's hot and y'all want to cater to them. That's BS. That's the other problem with the PR people. So you have a lot of people who are just not qualified totally and to do the certain jobs that they have. So I just think it needs to be more vetting going on. And as for the players, truth be told, like Octavia said, y'all gotta get over yourselves. This comes with it. And no, we're not obligated to speak on or report on everything being positive. Because guess what? Your play ain't always positive. That's just, it's an imperfect game. Basketball's an imperfect game. You're gonna miss shots, you're gonna get beat, you're gonna miss balls, you're gonna turn the ball over. That's part of it. If you don't like that, you're gonna be criticized at times. Don't play the sport. No one's saying play it. You see what I'm saying? When the Mystics was rolling, smacking everybody, players was embracing all that love. Then there's been a rocky few years. See, I see how y'all are. Okay. And I'm not going to say her name. Wilson, we was filming a documentary. I had to do something. I said, Wilson, can you go ask one of the players? We ain't going to go there. You ask one of the players, can she talk about the guy who's the centerpiece of the documentary? Before Wilson even finished the question, let's not touch on that. Like, damn, that ain't nothing negative. That's something positive. My man helps you out, helps you get back on the court. So I see what time it is. I lost a lot of respect for it because I see you one of them. You're exactly what this article talk about. But then on the other hand, Tiana Hawkins, I'm not even sure she's ever had a bad day. At least not in front of us. She's always smiling. You go up to her, hey, what's going on? Like forever, man. Consistent. She's a great example of how these ladies need to be. That's no disrespect. That's weak as hell for you to lose in the finals and you disappear. I ain't got no problem finding the mic and the camera when y'all winning, y'all doing all talking. All that ish. Kelsey Plum too. I don't want to hear that. Don't cop a plea when you talk all that ass like y'all not a team and all that. Stand on it. Don't be fake now and then try to say, the media doing what they do, twist and stuff. No, you know exactly what you said. That's weak stuff. And Wilson made a good point. Y'all was getting away with it till y'all pissed off New York media. See, New York media, they like piranhas, though. They don't care. Y'all, okay. They're gonna eat y'all alive. So y'all don't want those problems, especially when y'all don't even have the resources to block a lot of that out. At least the Knicks, James Dolan and them, you notice they don't talk to the media. The media kill them. They don't even care because they got the resources to block that. Y'all can't hide. They're gonna get at y'all. So why even have that spotlight on you when all you gotta do is just your job? It's part of the job. And as a hooper my damn self, you bust your ass all these years to get recognized so these people can write about you and talk about you. Now when they're doing it, or you have a bad game when you get to the pro level and stuff like that, you don't like it. You can't have it. It's either, this is a choice, man. This is what comes with it. This is what you get paid the money for. Someone literally said, I think Steve Kerr said that. He told the players like, man, the media, all this travel, man. I've been traded 3 times. I got to keep packing up. He said, yeah, that's what the high salary's for, to cover all that. Get some therapy. I see you at practice. Or don't sign up and then you can disappear and you can have peace of mind. And you ain't got to deal with it. But I guarantee you, you still going to have troubles because guess what? It's a thing called, I don't know, life. Shit happens. So you have to deal with stuff in it. So y'all can't have it all both ways, man. I'm tired of the disrespect. You can't big time people. And just because everybody's in media don't mean everybody a journalist. You gotta separate that. Anybody with a camera and mic can be in media, but you ain't a journalist. You don't know how to write an article. You don't even know the format. You don't know how to fill out a credential. You don't know how to conduct an interview, run a show. It's a lot of form that goes into this, into being a journalist. You don't run a magazine. You haven't been published yet. You don't have editors checking you everywhere, making sure you ain't been through that process. You don't know what it's like to have an article in before midnight so they can have it up in the magazine or on the site or back in the day in the newspaper first thing in the morning. And it's deadlines. And if you don't meet that deadline, your ass is going to be in trouble, damn near fired. I consider us journalists because we could do all that. We went to school for it. We were educated. We had on-the-job training for that. We're not bloggers. We ain't with those people. Just because we're not working for, I guess, a national media outlet doesn't mean we're not journalists, a qualified journalist. That's not how this works. And it only takes 5 seconds, at most a minute, to click on a site and read the work and just go over the work. Like, okay. And then you can move on with your day. Especially us, we've been there since 2014. Hell, I met Wilson covering the Mystics. So we've been there longer than the damn whole entire roster. Only from Tabal and Tiana August, they the only two holdovers from when we started. We was there literally in Cowboys 1 when they barely had 2 rows filled up around the arena. Had the dry ass popcorn, everybody was sticking their hands in and stuff. We there, I mean, it wasn't like we damn sure not eating that ever. That's just a cesspool. That's guaranteed you're gonna get sick. We saw that, and Ivory Ladder was just killing. So we came up from that when they at the bottom of the league, trading for Deladon. Ivory Ladder unfortunately broke down. She held it down like AI in 2001 for many years. She was holding it down to when they became a champion. So we kind of felt like we were part of that because it was some dark days, dog. And people were, even those days, they would say, like, why are y'all covering the Mystics? Y'all wasting time. But that's the power of the media when you do it right. So they need to separate real journalists like us and separate the fan folks and kind of cater more to qualified journalists so these players are more comfortable, and then we can get back to some professionalism. Because I get what they're saying. When you let the fan folks in there, it's not real coverage. You're catering to stuff like, yo, don't criticize them, man. They're great players, man. I know she shot 2 for 20, but man, what makes you think you should be like? They're still great players. Yeah, she's a great player, but she played like shit tonight. 2 for 20. Come on now. Could have got a fan of Fulfilling Dream and put them out here, and they can do that. So we ain't rolling with that, man. So I'll put more emphasis in the front of the story on the players because they can control it. Like, beggars can't be choosy, dog. And y'all want to grow the league, y'all got to invest in a lot of finances and money in it. What is paying y'all? Literally media. You're getting a pot from the NBA and stuff like that. Most of that pot is coming from media coverage. When ESPN drops the big dollars and stuff like that, y'all CBA, y'all salary, it increases off that. So if you piss off the media not being available, what you think they're going to do? Especially when the next CBA comes along. We're not going to pay as much money. Then who's that hurting? And y'all talking about expansion, right? It's hard to expand when you have less money. So this is just ridiculous, man. Like, get over yourselves, man. It's not about y'all, man. And what they also need to realize, and I'm going to end with this, is we're covering the Washington Mystics. Whether you in that jersey or not, we're covering the Washington Mystics. There's been a lot of players that have donned that jersey since we started and have come and gone. That's who credentialed us. We don't work for y'all. So it needs to be of respect when we come through and ask you questions and stuff like that. Because regardless, we can talk about y'all and not even have to interact with y'all for real. We here to cover the game. But then you're going to get an attitude when we say stuff. They don't never talk to us. When we try, y'all don't want to talk. You can't have it both ways. It's all about respect, man. Put yourself in the other person's shoes sometime, and that will help you better navigate things. Like Sinead talking about they mispronounced my name. Well, whoop the fucking do, man. Like, come on, dog. Give them a break. My name get mispronounced. Like, it happens, yo. Like, don't use that as a damn excuse. And that media trainer bull crap that the president of the WNBA Players Association tried to sell, that's BS. These ladies been dealing with media since high school. They've been top prospects. They deal with media overseas in foreign countries. These motherfuckers can't even speak English. You know exactly what to do. Like, that's just a cop-out plea to protect the players from even more heat because you know they bullshitting. hold these ladies accountable. Tell them to be professional. What they're doing is copying what the NBA doing, and they don't realize y'all not the NBA. And they getting in the NBA, they correcting that shit as we go as well. So do what's right, be professional at all times, and all this will go away.
It could all be so simple, man. With growth comes responsibility, man. It's just that simple, man. It comes with it. Like NBA, man, people got podcasts built off just trashing teams. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, they don't care about the league, whatever. They show up. I hate you, and I'm gonna make a living off it.
I mean, Marshawn's still out here eating.
Man, just not caring. But again, that comes with it, right? Look, we look forward to speaking with y'all next week, man. Y'all have a great week. We'll be busy. We'll have look forward to updating you guys on everything that happened between now and then. Make sure you watch some college basketball this week, both the men's and the women's side. Get your NBA fix in, and the Wizards fans. We'll see y'all a couple more times this week. Thank y'all for tuning in to this week's edition of Focus TV.